We were never really friends. 2.0.
2.0.
2.0.
Take
Yeah,
two.
Redux. For those following along at home, I have had Tim on the podcast once before talking about this very book, and the recording crapped out. So Tim is back to talk about it again because he deserves it. I wanted him on the goddamn show, and he's going to be on the show. Welcome back again.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, the fastest turnaround on a two timer yet. Guest. Before I get into questions about We Were Never Really Friends, which is out now. You should go buy it, dear listeners. It's out now. It wasn't out when we recorded this the first time, but now it is out. Before I go and jump into questions, could you give our listeners an elevator pitch about the book?
Yeah. If you have ever watched one of those trashy reality TV shows, Love Island, Perfect Match, one of those type of things, and thought this would be way better if there was a killer on the show, then this book is for you. It follows a group of lifelong friends and their wives as they all go to this private island off the coast of Louisiana for a getaway. You know, some fun time in the sun, drinking, partying, the whole nine. And then somebody with a bow and arrow shows up and just starts wreaking havoc. And you find out that this group of friends is not as tight as they thought they were. There's a lot of buried secrets, a lot of baggage, and it all comes out. And you'll find out in the end if they were ever really friends.
Very messy
Yep.
folks. Yeah. Not my friend groups typically. I got away from all these types of quote unquote friends.
We all had friends like that at some point in our lives, though, so I think it's relatable.
I mean, that part is you're like it's when I was talking about this with somebody over the weekend. It's like when the person who always has drama around them and they're always complaining about it, and you're like, it's you. You're
the problem.
You're the problem. And we're gonna start with that. My first question is about likable characters. About having characters that are, quote unquote likable, that a reader will latch onto and root for. And this is not, I don't know, I want to say huge cast, but a big enough cast, especially when I think all of them are perspective characters at one point or
at
another.
Some point.
Yeah.
Some of them more than others, but you get a little bit of perspective from each one of them at some point throughout the book.
Which is, not an easy, like when you do that many perspectives, it can be quite challenging. Was that a thought process at all for any of the characters, even the ones that are clearly bad people? Was there an element of, I need to give the quote unquote save the cat kind of thing, where I got to give some kind of a, even not even like likability, but something, a little bit of sympathy? Was that concern, or was it like, I don't care, these people are supposed to be unlikable?
Yeah, so for most of my books, yes. This one, no. I wanted to take a little bit of a risk and be like, hey, I just want to write some true terrible people.
Right.
And there's something fun about watching terrible people get their just desserts. And I try in a lot of my other books to write characters that are like, hey, this person, what they're doing is wrong, or the way they're handling things is wrong, but you can see the goodness and the reasoning and the rationale behind. This one is just a lot of selfish bad people who just get, it's a bloodbath, and I did that on purpose. Some people are loving it, some people are hating it, but it was intentional, so I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I took some risks.
I mean, I think that's ultimately, I don't know, I don't know. And I think that not everyone is utterly unlikable.
No, they're not all. They're not like completely. There's redeeming characteristics to each person. At least some. They're not like caricatures of what a bad person would be.
And, I mean, I've met plenty of people in my real life who I think, oh, this person seems like an irredeemable asshole. I guess maybe that's what they are. That's just, and like, I don't know. But when, I don't know, I am not ever a person where I need someone to be a likable character. I just want to be have a compelling character. I want someone who I know why they're being a dick, why they want to do why they're doing what they're doing, not necessarily uh you know, oh, everyone's sweet and nice and kind and now they're being killed. I'm like, well, it's also not very realistic. Um but I mean it I don't know. The tone of the book is a bunch of messy people devolving into like a massacre. So it's not it doesn't need to be
Yeah,
yeah. I don't know.
that's the whole
That
point of it. And another thing I kind of did with it too was I wanted to be almost a little bit satirical with a couple of the guys and make them like you know those extreme alpha males you see online that like teach the how to be a man class
oh my
and
lord, yes I do.
crap like that. So there was a couple of those guys that if you kind of read into that, it's like okay, I could see that in there. So it was almost a little satirical to make them sort of manospheric guys, I guess.
Ye-
I
ye-
don't know if that's a word or
it
not, but
is that's a great word, manospheric. You should write a sequel called Manospheric. uh
maybe I'll put it on the list.
yeah, I mean it's or I will. I mean there's the I don't know, there's that oh, what's that John Lynch book? Well, I can't think of the name of it.
The Warriors Retreat or
Yeah, that's it, Warriors Retreat. And I'm like, that's kind of there already. I don't know if I could. I'm not sure I could write something better than that doing the same thing. So I'll just
he
not.
did
I'll
kill that one. It was a lot of fun.
yeah. I think, but I don't know. I probably mine would probably be way more. I don't know. Me. It'd be more me. So it probably wouldn't
More
even
you.
matter. It probably wouldn't matter.
It'd be
Um,
distinct.
sure. I already have my next like 4 manuscripts like set in stone. So people are like, you should write this. I'm like, I maybe eventually someday,
Maybe one day.
maybe one day. I've got too many ideas. Perspective shift. Speaking of a bunch of perspective characters, what informs the perspective jumps? Why? It's and I think like early on you gotta get the idea. Well, it's just to introduce us to everybody, so we get to know the whole cast. But especially
Yeah.
later on, as there's a few different mysteries floating around, like who is this the killer with the bow and arrow? Where is this person? Where's this person? Whose motive is what? Underlying things, mysteries. What informs your choice to go from character to character to character?
Um I planned it all out ahead of time. I'm a heavy plotter, super heavy plotter. So I plotted it out ahead of time of each character when their perspective was going to come in. Um and sometimes it was plot driven, right? I needed you to see what this character was seeing through their eyes or what they were going through in that moment or what led up to their death, those kind of things, because it did reveal certain things each time somebody dies. A little bit more gets revealed, right?
Yeah.
And then other times it was to throw the reader off of the scent, to maybe give in some red herrings here and there and keep you guessing, hopefully. I mean, it's not like a huge Agatha Christie
Right.
whodunit,
Right.
mystery thing, but there is several mysteries in there and some plot twists and turns and things like that. So I wanted to keep everybody on their toes and keep them guessing with those.
Right. Is there is there ever a point where I would say that you have to pick and choose about what you want to show an audience versus, oh, I can't because I can't obfuscate, something I want to keep hidden for a moment. I don't know. There's sometimes where you're like, I want to show this really gnarly death, or I want to see this scene, but to do that would reveal too much. Or is it I can pick and choose if I can skillfully obfuscate things or bend bend a scene a little bit?
Yeah, there was a little bit of both. There's a few deaths that if you really read them, if you hadn't there's one death in particular that you get to, and if you hadn't picked up on who the killer was by that point, there's a couple big clues in it. And I intentionally did that. There's some things that I had written and then gone back and edited because I said, this is just it's too revealing. It,
Right.
it just it lays the whole thing out on the table, and there's no it kills the mystery of it. So it's a little bit of both. It's a balancing act, trying to show you enough details to one show you the gnarliness, because that's my thing. I like gnarly stuff. I
I
like
mean,
writing gruesome death scenes.
gnarly stuff is really good.
Yeah,
I don't know.
big
I don't
fan.
know.
You're a big fan too.
I'm a big fan. I mean, I think there's I've mentioned this on the show before where I love elevated horror. I love literary horror. I love smart horror, but I also love trash. And I love gnarly, awful deaths. I love people melting. I love people getting
Yep.
stabbed and shot and gross stuff. I love people. There's a couple deaths I was about to say, but they would spoil things in the books, so I won't say them. But I like that too. That's why horror is great, is because it
Yeah,
can be this whole range of stuff, and it can indulge in like, man, human bodies are really fragile.
yeah.
They
And a
could,
lot of bad things can happen to them.
yeah, real easy too, and it's like really
Yep.
scary how weak we are, how easily
Hmm.
we can have an arrow go through us. It's
Yeah.
real.
But
It's real bad.
it's one of those jokes where I say, like, if anybody ever looks at my search history,
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, "What the hell is wrong with this dude?" Because I'm googling crazy things like, "Hey, how long would it take somebody to bleed out from a brachial plexus injury? Things like
Yeah.
that, or a brachial artery injury." And I always joke anytime you see that when they're talking about like they catch someone who a real life criminal, and they're like, "Oh, and his search history revealed that he was trying to figure out how to dispose of a body." I'm like, oof, I better never do anything wrong, because my search history is gonna make me guilty in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's really crazy the knowledge you pile up as a horror author where you're like, "Oh, yeah, I know exactly how long it takes to die in sub-zero temperatures. I know
yeah,
exactly how long it
I
takes."
shouldn't know that, but I do.
Yeah,
You know,
I live in
I,
Florida, man. I don't have to
right? It's
worry
hot.
about that. Yeah.
I had more worry about getting dehydrated, getting heat stroke, but yeah, you learn about that. You learn about frostbite. I did a lot of research on frostbite for port luck, and how it would detach limbs and things like that, and rot away skin on on the face. And
Yeah.
I looked at a lot of really crazy pictures to try to get a good way of describing it, and those things are seared in my brain forever, so I'll never forget
Yeah.
about them.
There was a we had a there's a people who study bugs that are around corpses and
Yep.
how quickly certain types of insects go to a corpse to help forensics, because if a body's been around for a day or a week or a month, it can help determine a time of death and how long a body's been around, and depending on what kind of insects are there. And our chapter of the HWA had that gentleman talk to us about that, and I'm like, this is crazy. Just thinking about this is craziness.
Insane. Yep.
Yes, he was had all this detail. I'm like, man, this is nuts. This guy does it every day. I can't I can't imagine. I'm not going to make this a discussion about that guy's interview, but it was really crazy. Uh,
Impressive. Yeah.
yeah. This is, I know, is here a reveal for the people listening. This is a question I asked you once. I'm sure of it because I remember this one. The action in this and in all your work is like really very well choreographed.
Thank you.
It establishes, and it's a thing I struggle with. I struggled with it when I started, and I still struggle with it. It's probably the thing that I have to work the hardest at to make it make sense in my own work. So whenever I find someone who does it, I go, "Wow, how?" Because it's always like, well, you have to be able to, especially when you in this book, especially there's multiple action scenes where there's a bunch of things happening, a bunch of people running in opposite directions. There's people doing there's an attacker, we'll say, and then multiple people trying to defend, run, flee, getting hurt, all that stuff. How do you keep that straight? What's the fine line to keep it clear to a reader, but also provide description, that that push pull of I need them to understand exactly what's happening, but I can't give so much because it will bog down the reader. Where does that line lay, I guess?
Yeah, it's hard. I wish I had like a really good answer for you of like this is exactly what I do. It is something that just kind of comes naturally to me. That's like one of the things I pride myself on, that I'm really good with action scenes and fight scenes and anything like that. It's kind of just it flows. One part of it is plotting, right? And sometimes I'll even like draw out on a piece of paper, just circles, and be like, all right, this person's going this way, this person's going this way, okay. And then I have to go back through and reread it and say, okay, I this is clearly not making sense, and rewrite that. But the biggest balance is between giving enough detail and not bogging down the story. And I think the biggest thing for that is just what does that particular scene require, right? Like there are scenes, fight scenes that require a lot more detail. The death is maybe it's a big death, right? It's a main character, and it's going to be heartbreaking, and you want to just really drive that home. There's other scenes where it's just chaotic and crazy, and it's going to depend on what pacing you're going for. So I think that's the happy medium, is just trying to find, okay, these deaths are important, these actions are important, but I don't need to spend 3 pages talking about them. That's going to bog down my pace. So I need to do pacing here. And then, okay, maybe I get to this one part of the scene where this one person doesn't make it. And that person, maybe I'll drag that out 2 pages and really give you the details of what that person's going through, and then jump into something else. So it's just kind of all about controlling pacing on it, really.
Great, because the next question is about the pace. Uh,
Perfect segue. Was
perfect
not
segue.
planned.
Perfect segue. Because that is the other thing where this in this book is there's a little bit of setup at the beginning,
And
and
then
then
it's
it
just pedal down.
pedal down. It goes. And you have already said you're a big plotter. Is that is that pace driven all from the plotting in that or is it and driven from like I know I want this book to be nonstop. Therefore, I will make sure that is there I would say also like, hey, is it a product of plotting, and is there revisions where you're like removing slower stuff, or is there times where you're like maybe I do need a lull and add in a little bit of a moment of peace, a moment of quiet before we ramp down again?
So yes, for the plotting. Like I said, big plotter. I mean, the current book that I'm working on right now, the plot itself is about 28,000 words.
Wow.
Like,
Okay.
it's the size of a novella.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
lot. Yes, you are correct then.
Um, yeah. I'm a big time plotter. So this one obviously was not nearly as big because it's a much shorter book. The one I'm writing now is almost 3 times the size of it. I went into this one knowing that I wanted to do a brief introduction, and then I just wanted to go balls to the walls for the rest of the book. I wanted it to be one of those ones where you're like, it's a train wreck and I can't look away and it's happening at high speed. And then all of a sudden you're done and you're sitting there going, what the hell just happened? Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was shooting for in this one. Um, there are tricks, I think, the pacing that seem to help. One thing that I do is I manipulate page length, chapter length, to control pacing as well. So if I want it to feel like it's speeding up, I'll shorten the chapters down. So it feels like, as a reader, as you're reading it, you're like, oh my God, I just burned through chapter two. Oh my God, I just burned through chapter three, and so on and so forth. And then other times I'll slow it down and stretch that chapter out. And maybe, it'll, instead of it being 5 pages, it'll be 12 pages. And you can kind of play with that. There are a couple of down points, but when I say down points in this one, they're very small down points.
Yeah.
Basically, just kind of catch your breath moments. But you can do different things, different perspectives from different characters. Like when I wrote Seven Rabbits, every other chapter is from a different person's perspective, who's not a part of the actual main violent plot. So that's kind of your breather, but it's also an emotional roller coaster that you're going on with that one. So you can kind of control it that way. But that's one of the tricks that I use. And then same thing that also goes with writing scenes, like back to what we were talking about, is shortening the deaths, the violence, whatever, to speed it up or dragging them out. But no, this one I knew I wanted it to be pedal down all the way, just pure chaos from I think it starts in chapter 5, I think, or whatever, when the book really kind of kicks off and they get to the island. And from 5 to 25, it's just or 5 to 30, whatever it is, it's just nonstop for the
It,
rest of the book.
it goes. It does. It does.
Yeah.
It might be the fastest space book that I've had on the podcast. It's at least in contention.
It's up there. I mean, that's one of the main things. So if you like fast-paced books, it's definitely going to be right up your alley. And it's funny because I wrote this. I have two more books coming out next later this year, but I already wrote those. I wrote those a while ago. Actually, I wrote them before I wrote this one, which is kind of crazy. But they just weren't really ready, and I wasn't at that point to work on them yet. So, anyways, besides the point, the one I'm writing now is going to be so much slower and more thoughtful and taking time to really get to know the characters and building up to everything. And what my goals with that, what I'm doing is trying to play with the pacing on that to where it's going to be slower for a longer period of time. And then it's going to be gas pedal to the finish again. So I'm kind of playing with some different things with that and trying to really master pacing with a couple different books. Like this one was full speed. Port Luck has some ups and downs. Seven Rabbits is like fast, slow. And I'm just playing with different pacing options right now. And so I'm having a good time with it.
That was gonna be my next question. Again, you're jumping right in front of me. Do you get when you're writing a book like this, and you mentioned you wrote those other books prior to this, when you write a book like this that is pedal to the metal, do you want the next manuscript you're going to work on? Do you want to change your pace? Do you want a book that is going to be a different change your pace literally when you want it to be? I want this one to be a little bit slower, or I want at least a little bit more of that up down up down.
Yeah,
Is that in like give your writing more time to more I guess room to breathe?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, if so, I went Port Luck, which has a lot of ups and downs. And then I wrote The Harvesting, which is a novella. So it's weird to talk about pacing in a novella because it's only 150 pages. So it's
Yeah,
like, it's really short. Um, but for 50 to 60% of that book, it's a very slow build, but there's like a sense of dread sitting over it. And then it goes, fast to the end. Then I wrote this one full speed, nonstop. The one I'm writing now is, like I said, much slower. So yeah, I think it does kind of go back and forth. And it just really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. I think after this one, I'm gonna try to write something that's more in the middle.
right.
Um, and we're gonna see how that shakes out.
Yeah, I mean that's usually is. I mean that's what I'm doing in my current manuscript. I'm like, it's very different from the last thing, and I'm like, let's see how it goes. I don't know what. I don't know.
But
We'll
you're
see.
pushing yourself. You're pushing yourself and you're expanding
Right.
your abilities and honing your craft. So I think there's something to be said for that. I like that.
No, I mean that's the. I've it has been on. I think it's been on record on this podcast a bunch of different times with a bunch of different authors. They're always like, if you're not challenging yourself to do something you haven't done before, or at least a different permutation of something you've done before, or different whatever it is, then what's the point? You're not going to get any
Yeah,
better. Like you can just write the same. Yeah, any of us could write the same thing over and over and over again, and but it's not at a certain point. I don't know. I think there are some people who don't mind that, who like it. I'm not one of them. I could never. If you look at my all my books, they're all very different from the rest of
it's a
them.
wide variety.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Um, that's it for the first segment. But
Wow, we're cooking through
we are
it.
cooking. I mean, 25 minutes. It's not bad. Uh, that's about probably about average, honestly, for my show. For the first segment.
Thought we were cooking. Now we're just average all of a sudden.
I mean, we're not. No, we this
I'm messing with you.
here's the true secret. It's the exact right amount of time.
Perfect.
Exactly. But people should go get We Were Never Really Friends. It's available now. You
Absolutely.
can go read it. The moment you hear this, actually stop what you're doing, go buy a copy, and then come back.
Yep. And I will tell you, self brag on it. It hit number one in American horror for paperback
Oh
on
yeah.
Amazon. It got to top 3 in horror suspense on Kindle. I mean, blew away every hope and dream that I had for a launch. I mean, it is the best launch that I've ever had, hands down. It's not even close. So it's doing well. It's doing something right. People are liking it. It's love it or hate it. It's doing really well. So yeah, definitely go grab a copy. I'd appreciate
Don't hate it, love it. I don't want to. I don't want this negative nonsense. Okay, only love it. And if you don't like it, I
I
don't want to hear about it. I want you.
I told you I'm my own worst critic,
I
man.
was gonna say. We move on to the second act. Broader bookish questions. You already know that because you've been on the show once before, sort of. I'm going to keep referencing that. Your first question here. This is different because this is your. Oh, we have a child. A child has
Yeah,
appeared.
she was saying goodnight.
Good night, child. Sleep well. You're our future. Take care of her. Please take care of us as we age.
She just wrote a book.
Oh
So
wow,
I read it today. Yeah, I read it
man.
yesterday. So
Oh, okay. That's all right. Now I'm like, okay, maybe slow down a little bit, child. Maybe okay. Oh, yeah, I didn't
yeah,
finish.
calm
I did.
down.
Yeah, calm down. Yeah, okay. Maybe I don't even have a book deal yet. How about we calm down a little bit? All right.
Calming down. Yep. 6 years old. She's out here writing stuff. She brought it
Write
into me the other day
write
and wrote
books.
into
6 years old. My God. I was writing. I think I wrote. I think I was writing poetry when I was really bad poems about lizards when I was 6. Uh, your first question is from my last guest,
Okay.
Joshua Milliken, and his question is, I guess, related to writing because it's this question is technically related to everything that's happening on Earth right now. And he says we need to. He says you should answer this question in less time than it probably could take because he says you could.
Okay.
This question could eat up the rest of the podcast, and I agree it could eat up the rest of the podcast. His question is: do you think or hope the AI bubble is about to burst?
Oh man, this could take up the rest of the
It
podcast.
could take up the rest of the podcast. Anybody's like, don't please don't let it. So,
I
a
won't.
short answer.
Um. Yes. Um. For multiple reasons. One, all these data centers and all that stuff's terrible for the environment. We're blowing through insane amounts of water. Obviously, try it takes away from human creativity. All those things. I think there could be there's a place for it in business for sure. In regular work, but no, not in the creative space. And I wouldn't be upset to see the AI bubble burst at all. I think it's going in a way that I didn't think it was going to go when it first started rolling out. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then immediately humans, we're flawed creatures and we find a way to corrupt everything that we touch. So yes, there, done, rant over.
Thank you. No, I mean that is quite a reserved rant because I would have probably taken twice as long to say the same thing. But I mean I would argue that uh, there's been multiple things coming out lately that it is not. It's actually more expensive at this point to run AI than it is to hire a
Yep.
human. And
Yep.
I would hope that at one point that these companies would realize that and just hire people to do jobs, and let them use, like you said in business, let them use it to write business emails for them or whatever. I don't,
Yeah.
whatever it is, but yeah, obviously, I got I get asked a bunch of questions about it at this convention last weekend, and I was getting very tired of talking about it. I'm like, can we just talk about one of my books, man? I don't want to talk to you about
Please.
AI.
Thank you.
Please,
Yeah.
please. Yeah, exactly. All right. I will see if you give me the same answers as before because I also lost your answer to this. I think you're going to give me some of the same answers because it's a question I
Okay.
ask every time. Who is an author more people should be reading? And you can obviously give me more than one answer.
Well, there's this cool guy, Robbie Dorman here,
Okay,
and
okay,
he's
all
this.
right. That's
All
very
right.
kind of you. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You should. Hey, if
Um,
you're listening to this podcast and you haven't yet read one of my books, please, yes, I would love that. That would be
you
lovely.
should definitely do
Yeah, that'd be
that.
great.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I'm gonna say James Kane. He's my buddy, one of my best friends. Him and I have co-written a book together, and we co-wrote
Both,
a book
both of
together.
those things.
Both, yes. Um, and his books are absolutely fantastic. I started off as a fan before him and I kind of hit it off and became friends. So definitely shout out to him. Um, I would love to see more people reading some more extreme stuff. Maybe not like all the extremes. I get that that's never gonna be mainstream, but maybe stuff a little bit more splatterpunk light, if that makes sense.
Right.
I would love to see that. So any of the authors who are in that realm, you could read Triana or any of those guys would be amazing. Um, yeah, you put me on the spot. Now I'm trying to think of all my friends and authors who I know, and I've met hundreds of them, and it's hard to think through it on the spot. So I'm going to
Yeah.
go with that as my answer.
I mean, that's good. That's perfectly fine. I mean, when people ask me, there's again, people ask me this weekend, who's some people they should be reading? I'm like, I could, I could talk to you for hours.
All day.
I could give you literally hundreds of names of people. Like, hey, read this person, this person, this person, this person. Like indie, self, trad pub, all I could give you a laundry list of people. Horror is a huge. It's expansive. There's so many
But
of us.
and I prefer when people ask me what genre. Like, hey, I'm really into sci-fi. Who should I read? Well, S.A. Barnes,
Right.
or I'm really into um, I don't know, werewolves, and then it makes it easier to kind of direct them towards somebody who's going to fit into that mold of something that they already like and get them reading. Because that's really the most important thing is to get people reading again.
Yeah, the best book is the book you want to read. It doesn't have to be
Exactly.
it doesn't
Yep.
have to be the best book actually ever written, even if that is a thing. I mean, like I tell people my favorites that I've read recently, like my favorites of this past year or whatever, and then but I'm like, here's a short story collection. Here's a novella, shorter stuff that people can lower barrier to entry, all that stuff. Um, let me see. Okay, I don't think I asked you this before. Where do you write, and why do you write there?
Okay. That's a great question. I've talked about this a couple times. I primarily write on my phone. About 90% of it's on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, and I write anywhere and everywhere. Um, so if I get a free 5 minutes, I pull out my phone and I start tapping away. It's a habit that I developed really early in my writing. Actually, I wrote Seven Rabbits entirely on my phone.
That I
Um,
did not know that, and that is
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So my youngest daughter, who was just in here at the time, she was 2 or 3, and she was having night terrors. So she couldn't go to sleep without somebody in the room with her. So what I would do is I would lay on the floor next to her bed and I'd hold her hand with my left hand until she fell asleep, and I would type on my right hand. And so I would go through chapter by chapter, and I'd lay there for it would take like an hour, hour and a half sometimes to lay there on the ground in her room to get her to go to sleep while I'm writing. So I'd get an hour, hour and a half at night to write. Um,
Well, wait, wait, wait,
she
wait.
doesn't need that anymore.
That
Go ahead.
is the cutest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. So, okay, continue.
And so you realize the content of what Seven Rabbits is
Well, yes,
about.
I mean, it's a terrible horror story filled with atrocities, but it's very cute that I mean, I think that's even I don't know. I even like that more that it's that you wrote we contain multitudes. I think that's the
Yeah.
pushback against horror writers as these scary, awful people. Well, we
Yeah,
write
we're
this.
just regular dudes.
Yeah, regular. We write horrible things while we hold our children's hands while they try and sleep, which is
Yeah,
so dang cute. Okay,
exactly.
now continue. You're
Um
continuing your answer.
Yeah, so I then kind of adapted that to just I still write primarily on my phone. I have a laptop. I'll write on it sometimes, but it just feels like more effort to pull it out whenever I'm somewhere or take it with me. I can just do it on my phone. So I use Google Docs and just write on my phone. Um
No Bluetooth
and
keyboard at all. Just the
no, just tapping
okay.
away on the phone. Yeah.
Oh boy.
And
Okay.
it, I could probably write faster if I didn't do that, but just it's the habit that I developed at this point. Um, I have a day job. I work 40, 50 hours a week, and then I've got 3 kids and a wife and a dog that I need to take care of and be here for. So writing it's still secondary for me. As much as I write and as fast as many books as I'm putting out and everything is still a secondary thing for me. So I typically will get up early before everybody and go to work, and I'll go to work about an hour early, and I'll sit in the parking garage at work, and I'll write for an hour, hour and a half. Lunch break rolls around, I'll go back out to the parking garage and I write for 45 minutes in my car. Then I go home, spend time with the family, do all that, and then I'll write on my computer or edit or do something on my computer for 45 minutes to an hour before bed. So it's about 2.5, 3 hours roughly a day that I'm consistently writing. And 2/3 of it at least is on my phone.
There, every so often you have another author tell you how they wrote something, and it is so. I wish I could do that. I wish I could just sit in my car. I have to spare 30 minutes. I'll just sit in my car and write. I
I
don't.
did it this morning at the doctor's office.
I see. I don't know. I maybe if I'm see. I I'm waving my arms like a muppet. If for the people listening, not watching this on the video, it's that's even more impressive to me. That's crazy. I can't. My brain just doesn't work like that. Maybe if I absolutely had to, I would. But
Well, I think that goes back to me being a really big plotter. Is it's really easy for me to pick up on exactly where I left off on.
right,
So I can just quickly glance at my plot and say, okay, this is where I left off at, and then keep writing. So it makes it easy to stop and go, or just pick up wherever I'm at and write. And then writing on my phone and getting used to that, it makes it to where I can write because a lot of times I can't. I mean,
yeah,
my daughter had a piano recital this weekend, and I was sitting around for 2 hours. I'm like, cool, let me put my phone out and start typing away while I wait for piano recital to start. Stuff like that.
yes. I
So,
mean, I'm not. I'm not. It's not a criticism at all. It's
oh
actually
no, not at all.
it's
Yeah,
incredibly. I I don't think I think I think honestly it's not that it's smaller or your phone or anything. It's that I could not type fast enough with my thumbs or whatever on a little phone screen. I would. It's the same problem I have with longhand. Like it's the my brain is working faster than my fingers, and I skip words. I jump over stuff. All that. Um,
I still put in about 1,200 words an hour, or is about what I write on my phone. So it's not terrible, but it's not great.
that is great. What are you talking about? You're that's those are good numbers. 1,200 words an hour is a
It's gotten
good
better. It
number.
started off when I was writing Seven Rabbits. It was like 500 or 600 words an hour, and then it's gotten up there over the years.
You're doing those you're doing good numbers. That's 1,200 words an hour is there's a lot of I don't know. I think it's baked into my brain because at my writing group we always write for exactly 1 hour, and a lot of people shout out how many words they've done.
Mhm.
It's that mostly not people doing 1,200 words in an hour. It's usually a lot less than. They're also not. You're a professional author at this point. They're mostly not professional authors.
But and there's a lot of typos. A lot of typos. I'm
Well,
very
yeah, of course.
sloppy. I zero draft, so it's like the first draft is chicken scratch, and then I have to go back and basically rewrite the whole damn thing. But it gets the story out there on paper. Well, on computer.
Right, exactly. On it exists,
It
which is
exists. There's a
which
word. The thoughts in here are now out there somewhere.
yes, which that's vital. Honestly, hey, the words need to exist before you can do anything to them. Um,
Exactly.
is there? You've mentioned your extensive plotting multiple times so far. So I'm going off book. Is there a world? Is there a future where you see yourself plotting less?
No. I tried it. I had this idea for a book called Beneath the Tall Oak, and I loved the concept of it, and I wanted to try it. I wanted to pants it, and I made it like 13 chapters into this book, and I had my ass all twisted around like a pretzel, and didn't like where it was going. Didn't like plots that I had not really followed up on. Like there are unresolved plot strands already at the I'm 12 I was probably 18,000 words into the book at this point, and it was
Yeah.
like I wasn't loving it. And so I abandoned it. It's still sitting there. I have 10 chapters of this book that I will probably never go back to, even though I love the concept of the story, but it's like ruined it for me. I'm just like, the hell with this book. I'm done.
What about okay? So what about it like a hybrid, a planting, a more a less still outlining some, but less than let's say the heavy outline.
So I do kind of do that now because sometimes as I'm writing, I'll come up with an idea and change something mid book. But usually, what I'll do is if I'm gonna do that, I'll stop and, and adjust my outline to account for that. Um, so, and I mean, not always because I say that, but Port Luck, I changed the ending of Port Luck 3 times before I settled on an ending, and I never went back to the outline for that. I just rewrote it, and then I had at one point chapters. What was it? It was, I think it's 50 chapters or whatever it was. It was 35 chapters. Some I don't remember what it was, but it was the last 5 chapters. I had like 3 folders with 5 chapters in it of 3 different endings, and then ultimately decided which one I wanted to go with. Um, they were all vaguely similar, where all the plot points got tied up, except a few things. So that's probably as close as I'll ever get.
Okay, because I found myself. I used to also not plot as heavily as you have mentioned, but outline pretty thoroughly. And lately, I've been going to more of a plancer, I think,
Okay.
type strategy, where it's like I might have a single bullet point. This is this chapter. I know where I need to end up at the end of it, and that's it. And it's
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
I've enjoyed it a little bit. I think it slowed me down a little bit, but I also really have enjoyed it a lot. So I'm not sure if I may go back. I'm not making any commitments. I don't have to.
I
It's
will
not
say I also hate editing with a fiery passion. It's my least favorite part of writing. I really like storytelling is great. Enjoy that part. The actual grammar and stuff was never my favorite thing. So plotting saves me from lots and lots of editing because
yes.
I don't have to go back and fix plot holes and things because it's already figured out.
Right. It's all more line edits and smaller, finer
Yeah,
details. Yeah.
exactly.
Um well, you've already answered multiple of these questions just by describing. Well, okay, while you're sitting in your car writing on your phone, do you listen to music?
No, not usually. Well, yes, sometimes it depends. Sometimes I don't listen to music because I don't like words. I feel like it influences my writing, but I will listen to ambient noises. I like train sounds.
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
yeah,
Hell
I don't know
yeah.
where that came from, but just like the sound of trains running down the tracks and things like that, it seems to help kind of soothe the take out the background noise and let me focus on that. I'll do that. Sometimes I'll put on those like writing playlists you can find on YouTube, like the your POV, you're in a dark, mysterious museum at night and it's
Yeah.
raining, those kind of things.
Right.
But no, never actual music. Sometimes I will listen to music if I know I'm gonna write a particular scene. I'll listen to music on the way or before I start writing the scene to get myself in that mindset. Like if I'm gonna write a real violent murder, I'll listen to some, metal or something like that to get myself like, let's go.
Yeah.
But nah, that's about it.
Yeah. I've a, that's I will typically I usually have a song that is my like get amped to write song, and then I will listen to either nothing or to a noise like you have
Yep.
described. That is
That's the way. That's the way to do it.
this is the
This
way.
is the way.
This is the way. I don't uh what is the best piece of advice you followed?
um okay, don't feel like you have to write every day. There was a point, it was like right after I published Port Luck, and Port Luck did really, really well. And I put this pressure on myself that I didn't need to put on myself. And I was writing all day, every day, as much as I could, every spare second. And I'm like, I got to get more books out. I got to do this. And it burnt me out so fast to the point where I was like, why the hell am I even doing this? Is this even worth it? I love writing, but now writing just feels like work again. Um, so I'm not saying to neglect it. I'm not saying not to write every day. If you're feeling good, write. Like I have been on a tear up until this last week because it was the last week of school and we had graduations and all sorts of stuff going on. But before that, I was writing like an extra 15 hours a week on top of my day job. I pounded out like I think it was 44,000 words in 2.5 weeks. Like I was killing it, right?
That's
Um,
really good. That's a lot of words.
It doesn't happen. This is a fluke. Okay, this is not a thing that happens to me very often. But I was in the zone and I was feeling it. I was feeling good about my writing. We Were Never Really Friends was just releasing, so I'm riding the high of that, and I'm in love with this story that I'm writing now. I mean, I am. It's. I think this is going to be the best book I ever wrote. I think it's going to be my favorite book that I ever wrote once it officially comes out. It's going to probably be mid next year. Um, but there are times where I'm just not feeling it. So if you're in that point and you're like, I love this, but it's starting to feel like work, take a step back and you got to reframe it in your mind of like you don't have to write. You don't have to write every day. I know Stephen King says that he writes like 15,000 words a day, but
he,
he's
doesn't,
also
he doesn't
Stephen
write.
King,
He doesn't write 15. He does write every day. He's also Stephen
whatever it
King, so
is.
he can just write every day. He doesn't have to
Right.
worry about anything else in his life. He can do whatever he
Exactly.
wants. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So take the time, take care of your mental health. Don't burn yourself out trying to keep up.
Right.
That's it.
Yes. It's a healthy balance of, and it's about knowing yourself, really. It's like,
Yep.
what can you, there's a very fine line of like having a practice of I'm a writer and I am, especially when if you're seeking to be a professional, a published author, and you want to have you want to be prolific, you want to have a catalog. There's a fine line of like, well, I'm going to write today, I'm going to get some words in, versus I need to write every day, I need to drive myself really hard, and then you lose your mind
Yep.
with burnout, which is, I think, a thing that you don't, and sometimes you don't recognize you have burnout until it's already got its hooks in you. You're
Yeah,
already
that
you're
was me. That was me at the end of last year, man. I wrote We Were Never Really Friends, Ride Share, and Try Not to Die in Port Luck, which comes out in September. And I did all three of those in the span of like 5 months.
that's a
Um,
lot. Yeah.
yeah, and then I didn't write anything for like 2.5 months after that. I'm like, I'm taking a break. It probably wasn't that long. It was probably like a month and a half now that I think about it. But and then I wrote a couple short stories just for fun, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to go. I'm back into it again.
Yes, I mean it's the I don't know. It's when you want to, when you're
Yeah.
itching. That's also good. Like when you're out, when if you're feeling burnout and but then you start getting that itch again. You're like, oh, I want to. Oh, that's not a good idea. What does that look like? What would that be? Then you're like, oh,
Yep.
I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm back. We're
I can
back.
do this. We're
We're
back.
back. We'll do one more question.
Okay.
Um, mm, 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 mm. Oh, I didn't get to ask you this one either, so I'm gonna ask you now. What was your gateway horror media?
Um. Oh man. So the first I read Goosebumps and stuff like that, but the first thing that really messed me up, I watched it, the made for TV one from the '90s, way too early. I think I was 6 or 7 years old.
Tim Curry.
Um. Yeah, Tim Curry scared the everyone hell out of me. So I was over at my buddy John's house. I remember this very vividly. Was spending the night over there. His parents had to go to work, and they had rented it from Blockbuster the night before, and they had left it in the VHS. And I'm like, this is it. This is the moment. We're gonna watch this. So him and I sat down and watched it. And I remember I was scared when I watched it, but I was okay. I went home, went to bed, and it absolutely freaking ruined me. I couldn't sleep. I was crying, all this stuff, and it lasted for weeks. And I think it's just almost like traumatized. What was the word I'm looking for? Like I was so traumatized that I embraced it in a way where after that I was a horror fiend. I was consuming everything horror. Um, One of the first times that I realized that you could put messed up stuff in books though was actually before all of that, before um before Goosebumps. My dad was reading Robinson Crusoe with me when I was a little kid.
Okay.
And I don't know if you ever read it.
I
But
mean, a
there's
long time ago, but I have read it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have a limited edition copy and stuff. It's like it's one of the first books that really got me into reading. In hindsight, now I realize it's horrifically racist and
Yeah.
very
I mean, it was written
there's
300 years ago or whatever it was.
right,
Yeah.
very problematic. But there's a scene and there's cannibalism in there, there's decapitations in there, there's beatings in there, there's all sorts of crap that happens. And I think that was like my first realization as a kid that I'm like, all right, I could write some jacked up stuff if I ever wanted to one day. And that little lesson stuck in the back of my head too. So thanks, Dad.
Robinson Crusoe. I mean, I read Robinson Crusoe. I mean, I remember reading the illustrated, like an illustrated kids version of Robinson Crusoe when I was a little tiny child, and it was half pictures
Yeah.
and abridged whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's like I don't know. I I love Moby Dick, but yes, what Moby Dick's also very racist.
Yeah.
It
Very
was
problematic.
yeah, it's written in the 1840s. I don't.
Right.
It's fine. It's you can't. It's okay. I won't get into we can't get into discussion about the canon and problem
Yep.
and being problematic. We'll be here all day, just like AI. What is your question for my next guest?
Yeah. Question for the next guest. Man, I gave the last person the toss up and then I got AI. So
Sorry.
yeah, no. What is a good question for the next author? Let's see. Give us one prediction for the future of the publishing industry.
Wow, my that's a that's all right. I'll ask. We'll
There
see.
we go.
We'll see. We'll see what she says.
It might lead you right back to AI. We'll see.
I hope not. I hope it's an optimistic prediction. It's not my prediction, it's hers. So we'll see how it goes.
Hmm.
Um, with that, we can move on to our final segment. It's time for blood. It's time for struggle, time for hardship, for trouble, for talking about something you have had a problem with in the past, be it nuts and bolts, ethos, philosophy, business, marketing, social media, AI, could be anything. We've already talked about AI. We won't have to talk about it again. But in an effort to help people to realize that they're not going through stuff alone, that we all are facing things that and maybe help guide people through it, even if maybe we don't have answers. I need to come up with a spiel for this segment that's not so long. But
Oh, that kind of worked. I feel like that was perfect. Just
all
do
right,
that exactly how you did it
I'll
every
do that.
time.
I literally will go listen to this and just write down a script. Uh, so what do you got? What's on top of mind?
Um, Always when something like this comes up and we're talking about the struggles and helping other people through them, the one that always comes up because it is something that I battle with all the time, it's something that's almost derailed me several times, is imposter syndrome. It is freaking brutal. I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit before the show off the air.
Yes.
But I am my biggest critic. Um, there is a point where you will hit some success and you'll be thinking, I don't actually deserve this success. I don't know what I did that really made it worth it. I don't know why people were liking my books, but they are. And then it feels like everything that you write is crap and you're trying to write almost to, I don't want to say to market, but to meet that expectation of like, oh, I'm a good writer. Look at me do these cool things with my writing. Um, don't do that. Don't listen to that voice inside your head that tells you that you're not good enough or that you need to change things. I mean, there are times where you can change things and maybe it's for the better. But if you start getting that voice in your head, don't listen to it. Push through it. Just remember, writing's supposed to be fun. This is something you got into because you loved it. Nobody gets into this because they want to be a millionaire, right? There's
No,
easier ways to make $1 million.
much easier ways.
Way easier ways. You could go be an AI mogul. Um,
Speaking of, yeah.
yeah, but you get into this because you love it and it's supposed to be fun. And this is something that I still currently battle with because I'm in that weird in between spot where I'm like, I'm making good money from being an author, and there's a chance that I could see it in my future that I could be a full time professional author. But at the same time, it's still supposed to be fun, and I want to enjoy it. And I'm not there yet, so I'm just trying to enjoy the ride and have fun with it and write things that I want to write. So don't let imposter syndrome win. Push through it. I don't. That's really easier said than done, but do it. Don't let it get you.
Well, I mean, it affects everyone.
Yeah.
Even I love to say that I think my writing is great and everything I do is amazing, but there's still plenty of days I just don't talk about the days where I'm like, oh, I'm terrible. Why am I bothering with this? What am I doing? Like, why? Like, sometimes it is that, like, even if I think a book is great, no one else on earth seems to agree with me. What do I
Yeah,
do? And you're like, well, is this the rest of my life? Is it just writing things that I think are great and no one wants them, no one reads them, no one buys them, et cetera, et cetera? And even like you said, I've done for indie horror pretty well.
yeah,
But it's the same of like, I could do better. Why haven't I
yeah,
done better? What if I
yep,
do and you're like, well, am I good? Like, it's the same. You're like, it, it's very easy for your brain to trick you into thinking like, oh, this is all an accident, and
yeah.
soon people are going to discover the truth,
That I'm a
and
fraud.
you're a fraud, and you're and then everyone goes through it, no matter what level you are,
Yep.
from very beginning to professional authors who are, I know some, I will not reveal their names on air, but know people who are way more famous than me, who are great writers, who I think are great writers, who are have big deals and agents and are nominated for awards and still think that they don't deserve it. That for some
Yeah.
that any one day they will they're going to be found out that
It's a
all
house of cards.
yeah,
It's gonna come crashing down.
it's going to end tomorrow because, oh, people realized I'm not that good, that this is all a mirage, an
Yeah.
illusion, and it's not true. It's not really. I don't necessarily think it's a thing you ever get over. It's a thing you get through.
Yeah.
You write it out when it happens, and
You
you
learn to
just,
cope with it.
yeah, and it, like, and I don't. It's not just writers; it's kind of artists of all kinds, and like it happens even in like jobs and careers that aren't art at all. It's just people are like, you're just really good at this specific thing, and you get promoted and promoted and promoted, and you're like, how am I? And now I'm suddenly like big and
In charge of
important.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in charge. Like, why? And like,
I mean,
trust.
yeah.
You have to trust everything that's not inside here. Inside, I'm pointing at my head for everyone listening. Not, I sometimes forget that not like most of the audience actually doesn't watch the YouTube. Like 60% of this audience is not watching me point at my head, point at my brain. But and then, like, I don't know, there is a I don't know, the idea of like, especially I it's a lot, very much like when you haven't published something in a while,
Yep.
which I haven't, and then people are, oh, you haven't published anything in a while. Oh, like, you haven't. Where's the new thing? I don't have a new thing yet. Things are happening. Whatever. I can't talk about it sometimes, but it's like you get forgotten, and then you're like, am I actually? Maybe I'm not.
As important or as
Maybe I'm
big
not,
or as
maybe I'm
popular as I
not.
thought I
Maybe I'm
was.
not a writer. Maybe I'm not a big. It's it doesn't matter how it sinks its teeth into you. It finds its
Yep.
way. Um,
I'll say another one that happens that I wasn't ready for is when you've had success and then a book doesn't do well. And when I tell you that that is an ego check, that hurt. I had Seven Rabbits, which was my debut, blew up way better than I ever could have imagined. Then I came out with Port Luck. Port Luck multiple times in the top three, in all the different categories, and was ranking in the top 5,000 on Kindle Unlimited and all this stuff for forever, for months. And so I'm like, everything I write is gold. This is great. I'm just going to keep putting out books. And then I put out The Harvesting, and it flopped so effing hard, and I'm sitting there like, it was all fraud. This is it. This is the proof that I'm a
yeah.
fraud and that it wasn't real. It was a house of cards. And then I was like, you know what? I just got to keep going. And if it was just a fluke, then fine. I'm going to keep writing because I love to write, and hopefully not. And luckily for me, it turned out to not be a fluke. But you
No,
know,
no,
you just got to keep writing through it.
no. And I don't know. There's always, once and it's, I don't know. It's the thing I say is like, there's very few authors in who have any length of career who don't have a book that doesn't do very well.
Yep.
Eventually, you have a book that just doesn't hit the way you want it to. No matter what level you're at, you're like, oh, that book, and you go, well, I don't know. In hindsight, sometimes you can see why. You're like, oh, that's
Yep.
why no one wanted it. It's because I didn't market it well, or it's so weird that you can't market it well. It's like I don't know how the hell to sell this to people. And I don't necessarily feel like an idiot for writing it because I still love the story, but it's also like, well, I can immediately there's I was talking about it this weekend. I have a book called The Split Circle, which is a folk horror sports drama. And why on earth did Pass Robbie think that people would want it? I don't know. But horror fans are not mostly not, especially soccer fans. There's a lot of soccer in that book, and it makes sense in the context of the story. But I'm not gonna be able. I try to sell that to people. It just no one reads that. I have a bunch of copies of the Split Circle. If everyone would like a copy of the Split Circle, go get a signed copy at my website. But it's like I don't know. That was my fourth book, and it came
Yeah.
out right after my bestseller, and my bestseller to this day underneath.
Yep.
And then I'm like, oh my poor misbegotten child. No one wants you. I'm just gonna carry you around forever and be like, this is my and there's people who read it and like it, but
Yeah.
what you do
But
is
that's the funny thing is oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say you write another one, you write
Yeah,
another one, and
you
you write
do.
another one, and then it's fine.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say it's funny because you mentioned that like people read it and like it. The Harvesting is my highest rated book on like Goodreads and Amazon and all that different stuff. But it's also my least reviewed book. And I know exactly why it didn't sell in hindsight. It's a novella, it's a cult horror, it's a slow burn cult horror novella, which is kind of weird that you have a slow burn novella. And then the cover basically shadow banned me all across social media because it's a girl covered in blood screaming for help. Yeah, that didn't work so well, and I didn't market it effectively. So 100% know why it flopped now. But in the moment, it seemed like the world was falling down around me, and that everyone had figured out that this was not, this
Right.
was a fraud. So imposter syndrome sucks, man. Just push through it, guys.
Yeah, it'll be okay. You're you're all doing great. Okay,
You're all amazing.
you're all amazing. Tim's amazing. Tim's got
Oh, I don't know about that.
You are amazing. Where you are, where when I was at where you were, you've got way figured out more than I did. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. You're a you're a friggin' wizard. Uh, Shooting to the stars, whatever you want to say.
Trying, man. Trying.
That's what I say. People ask me, or they tell me, "Oh, you're Robbie, I really like your podcast," or whatever. I'm like, or I really like this book. I'm like, I'm trying real hard.
Yep.
I'm trying real hard. I can't try any harder. Honestly,
Nope. I'm giving it 110.
I am at max. I am.
Yep. You see the bags under my eyes? I'm
Yeah,
hurting right now.
yeah. I am. Especially at the moment we're recording this, I've maybe never been busier in my entire life. Maybe at my wedding, I
Yeah.
was busier, but other than that, I don't know if I've ever had a more point in my life where I've been busier. Um, Imposter syndrome sucks, and you will go through it, but it will be okay.
Yep.
You're not an imposter. You're one of us.
Nope.
You belong.
And I always tell people this other thing, and I know we got to move on to the next thing,
Oh, you're
but
good.
think about the fact that if you write a book, think about how many people want to write a book and never do.
Right.
You're in the elite category just by finishing it. So
You
be proud of yourself.
you wrote a book, and if you publish it, that's even again, you're like a narrower percentage of all people on earth ever.
Yep.
How many, and I don't know, if you sell enough books at conventions, you get lots of people who don't buy a book from you, but they're like, wow, you wrote a bunch of books. And I'm like, I always wanted to do that.
Yep.
And you're like,
All the time.
yep.
Even just you could be sitting at a bar and someone's like, "Oh, what do what's that?" "Oh, I'm an author." And they're like, "Oh, yeah. I mean, I've always wanted to write a book. I've had this idea for a book for a decade."
Ideas. Yeah,
Ideas, yeah. They're a dime a
ideas.
dozen.
I have a million ideas. That's not the
I
idea
have
is the easy part.
folders and folders on my computer of ideas.
Yeah.
So
It's sitting in your car on your lunch break and writing on your phone. That's the hard thing.
that's the
That's
that's the
the
work.
yeah, that's the work. That's where the rubber meets the road. Before we go, manifest. We're gonna manifest something for your career. I think the the I don't know if what you did last time, if the lost episode, if it was about this book or not. But regardless, you have a new birthday wish. You have a manifest something for your near to intermediate career, and it will happen. We're going to speak it into existence.
Oh, I hope last time that I talked about this book because it did really well. So if I did say something about this book and it worked great, then awesome. Then you
Right.
have some sort of weird witchcraft on here. Um, I am hoping that my not the two books that are scheduled this year. I mean, I hope they do amazing. Don't get me wrong, but the one that I'm writing right now, I am hoping that this one pushes me into another category to where maybe, just maybe, I can get a bigger deal, and potentially start moving that goalpost or moving closer to that goalpost of becoming a full-time author. And I'm hoping that this next one is one of those ones that brings me that much closer to that goal. And I think that it can be. I'm trying to finish it in it's a little over 100,000 words, and my goal is to finish it by the end of the month. And I've got about 55,000 words left, so hopefully should be able to do that. It's going to be tight, but that's what my goal is.
It's got that juice.
It does. It has that juice. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm right now. I'm writing about 3 to 4,000 words a day.
That
So it's going to
that's
be tight, but I think we'll get there.
that's again, those are oh I Robbie in a past life, we used to be able to do that. And I can't hit those numbers anymore. I don't know. The last book I did it a little bit, but it's those were on very good. Like I used to also just be able to might just because I plotted more. I think that's honestly might be the
It
secret.
could be.
I just had a bigger outline. It was less me wandering in the dark. Before we go, where should people buy We Were Never Really Friends, and where should they follow you on the internet?
Yeah. I am on all your major platforms except X/Twitter, whatever they call it now. You can find me Timothy King author, and it's on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. If you want to email me, timothykinauthor@gmail.com. My website is timothykinauthor.com. And that's about it. As far as We Were Never Really Friends, you can buy it anywhere books are sold. Amazon, Books a Million, Barnes and Noble, any of those places, go nuts. Buy it on my website. I will have signed copies. I don't have signed copies of it yet. I did just get my first shipment in, but I need to send out copies to my Patreon members first. So I'm working through that, and then I will put them up at some point here soon. So that covers it.
Hell yeah. Thank you for being on the show again.
Yeah, thanks for having me 2 times.
2 times.